Okay, so from the fluctuating or from the instantaneous wind data, if you consider any one particular wind direction, let's say u component, so you can have the mean wind, which can have both mean velocity as well as the waviness part into it, and your fluctuation. Okay. So you can do the temporal averaging and the spatial averaging like we have discussed yesterday, and in other words, these averaging are also called Reynolds averaging. Okay, so they are also called the Reynolds averaging, and if you find that the turbulence intensity or the turbulence remains same, turbulence parameters remain same over the time and the space, so it will be called as a homogeneous turbulence, and both of these averaging will leads to same solution. Okay, and there are few rules of averaging. These are like you prime bar on that. This means that averaging of the fluctuating component. Okay, so averaging of the fluctuating component will be 0. Okay, so that means the positive and negative part of the fluctuation will cancel out when you do the averaging, so that will leads to 0. And so if you multiply a constant with u, then that will give cu bar. Okay, so the fluctuating part is not there because it is 0, and you just get the constant times the u bar. Okay, the same way you can follow for the others. Have you tried for these two? Like yesterday I have asked. But if you haven't tried, just quickly do it. What is this going to give? uv, and u is your instantaneous, v is also instantaneous, and u square. So instead of v, you have u times u. What are the what do you get at the end? Okay, anyone solved?
You mean plus mean of u dash v dash.
Yes. So this is the detailed steps. You can write u bar plus u prime, b also b bar plus b prime, and you can take average of that. Okay, so if you open this bracket, so you get this is the first term multiplication, then you have the second and third term, and the last one. So these two terms will be 0, right? Because you have u bar, it is a mean quantity, and u bar prime. Okay, so basically this will give you u bar, even if you take average at average, so they're the same thing, but the average of this u bar, sorry b prime will be equals to 0, right? So because of the fluctuation, so that is 0, and this is also 0 again. So at the end you will get this one. Okay, from the same thing you can write it out for u square bar, so that will give you a multiplication of u and u prime's square. Okay, so this term cannot be 0, because when you are multiplying two fluctuating part, it cannot be 0. Okay, so just see that, because if you multiply negative to negative, it may become positive. Okay, and positive to positive, it will always positive. So these things cannot cancel out. Okay, same thing happen in the square term. All right, so that's why you have to retain this. Okay, now using this Reynolds averaging, we can further derive the governing equation for the atmospheric boundary layer. We will start with the basic wind equation that we saw last chapter. So you can write down the wind equation using all the forces. If you remember, the net momentum equation in x, y, and g direction. So x corresponds to your u velocity, y is v velocity, g direction is w, right? And this is your vertical direction. Okay, this is in your xy plane. Okay, so there we saw that the net inertia, the acceleration of the wind can be or it comes from your pressure gradient, which is normally called as your horizontal pressure gradient in both xy plane, and you have Coriolis force term, okay, and also you have your frictional forces, okay, because we are discussing about in the boundary layer, we need to include the frictional forces as well, okay, and now when we here neglect the centrifugal force because assuming that they are very small when we are near the Earth's surface, since the wind velocity is not so large, so we can actually ignore the centrifugal force. Okay. Then this we all have already derived in the previous chapter. So here we start from the same thing, and one modification we have done is like if you remember in the wind equation we saw in the vertical direction, basically your pressure gradient force, it simplifies to your hydrostatic condition, right? So P will be equals to rho gh if you integrate it, so that will be rho gh. But another thing is when you go above, like when you move above, I mean say go high in the atmosphere, so the wind density it is actually changed because of the temperature. Like we have seen the temperature profile, how it varies in different atmospheric layers. So based on that, you can also see the temperature will be also since the temperature is changing, the wind density or the air density, that will be also changed. Now we will not take into account of the change of density in xy plane, like in the horizontal plane, but we will take change of the density in the vertical direction. Okay, so that is your z direction, and that change of density we will assume from the Boussinesq approximation. It's a linear variation of the density with respect to the temperature. Okay, so that is mentioned here. So in other two equations we are not considering the density variation, but just we are considering the density variation in the vertical direction, which is quite logical. Okay, so like I have said, there is variation in the density in the vertical direction due to the buoyancy effect. Basically your temperature is changed as you go high, and that will change also your density of the air. So you must take it into account while you are writing the momentum equation. Okay, in xy plane, the such variation can be ignored and density can be assumed as constant. So in this u and v equation, I have assumed density as rho naught. Okay, so in z equation, you can see that the density term, if I multiply here, so rho naught g theta by theta naught. Okay, so theta naught is your reference temperature, theta is your actually here I have mentioned departure from the potential temperature from the base state. Okay, so how much it is actually changing from the base state. Okay, so that will be your theta. So you can see that the density term is related here. Okay, the variation of density is related here, or a buoyancy term you can say. So that is what it is taking into account the variation of the density with height or the temperature. And we also have energy equation here in the z direction, and also have the mass conservation equation, which is a continuity equation already you know. So these will be your starting equations. Okay, now you see that we haven't considered the fluctuating part to it. We are just writing it in the instantaneous data, and when it was derived, it was just the mean data. Now we will see that how this equation will be changed when we consider the both mean and fluctuation, and we will try to also perform the Reynolds averaging to get the meaningful information. Okay, so now the next step will be yes.
So can yeah, this slide. So what is
yes.
what is base state? I mean, what does it mean?
So base state means you can take any reference starting temperature. This can be varied. It is sometimes it is taken as the temperature at the sea level. Okay, a standard atmospheric temperature in a way you can say, or it can be taken in any other reference. Okay, for example, in a flat terrain, how much will be your reference? Something around 20 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius. From that reference value, how it is changing when you move high. Okay, so any starting reference value. Generally, it is considered as yes.
Yes, go ahead. I'll ask after this.
In the sea level, the reference temperature can be slightly different than your terrain level. Okay.
Okay, sir. So in the energy equation, for example, if you take the sea level temperature as the base temperature, the right side would vanish, right?
The right side will vanish if it is. It's a function of Z. You can see that.
Yeah. So I mean, so if theta naught is the sea level temperature, that means Z is constant, right? And theta naught is not defined, let's say,
theta naught
along
is
the direction of Z.
You can see that theta naught is actually defined as a function of Z. Theta is the function of X, Y, Z, and T.
Okay, sir, on the LHS of the energy equation, that theta is the theta XYZ T, or is it theta total?
Theta XYZ T. This is theta. This is theta naught.
Okay.
So because you have here, this is total derivative, right? So, and this theta is actually, it depends on all the spatial and the temporal coordinate. That is what the variation of the temperature. Okay. All right.
Sir, can you give us a reference from which we can read this up?
You can read this from J.D. Holmes. I think I have mentioned 2 books right in the very beginning. So there is something called J.D. Holmes. I don't remember the exact title of the book. The author name is J.D. Holmes. Wind loading on the structure, something like that. Okay. So in that book, if you go to chapter number 3, atmospheric turbulence also. So there you can find some data for it. Okay.
All right, sir. Noted. Thanks a lot.
So these will be our equations which we will simplify it. Okay, based on or we will perform the turbulence analysis on it. So what you need to do is, like I said, we are interested for the Reynolds average quantities. So starting from the first equation, du by dt, let's see this one. The same thing you can follow for the others. So du by dt, you have this is the total derivative. Then you have your local derivative, means local acceleration as well as the convective acceleration. If you open this total derivative, you get du by dt and this term. Okay. Now I have added, this is the extra term to it so that I can further simplify the equation. So this extra term, actually you can see that du by dx and dv by dy, dw by dz, this is a part of your continuity or mass conservation equation, which will give rise to 0. So if I add it, it is not going to change mathematically the equation. Okay. So, but the benefit of adding this particular term, I can further simplify the equation like I have mentioned on this part of the slide. So you can take this term, add with this, you can and further simplify to del u square by del x. Similarly, you can add the second term with this one. So here you can follow. Okay, so it will simplifies to this particular equation will simplifies to this du by dt del square u by del x square del u b by del y and del u uw by del z. All right. So basically, after adding this equation, you can simplify to this.
Actually,
Any question? Yes.
sir, in the mass conservation equation, there is also a density, right?
We
Which,
assume the density to be constant throughout. For all other equation, only the variation of the density is there in this buoyancy term. So you can remove that density from the mass conservation equation. Okay. So that is what I said here. It is only varying in this particular term. Otherwise, density is assumed to be constant. Okay. Now, so this will be your simplified equation after adding that extra term. Then we take the mean and fluctuating component on it. So du by dt, you can change u to u, its mean component plus its fluctuation, u bar and u prime. Same thing you can do for the v and w. Okay, starting from this equation, so you have your time derivative and xyz derivative, both u and v components. Okay, so here I have added respectively the u and fluctuation and mean component of the u and v, and also for the w. Okay, so now if you expand it, you will get so many terms here. Okay, if you expand it, you will get so many terms here. Now at this stage, what we do is we take the Reynolds average. Okay, so already there are average term, but if we try to get the average quantity, just let's take the Reynolds average on both LHS and the RHS, and it can further, then you can simplify this equation. Okay, so if you see the same number of terms are also mentioned here. Okay, now you can see that there are few terms which will be cancelled out. For example, du prime by dt. So if you take average of it, is basically average of or the partial derivative of averaged u prime. Okay, so this will be 0. Already we have seen any average quantity of the fluctuating part will be 0. So this will be 0. Then there will be this term. This will be also 0, right? This will be also 0. What about this? This cannot be 0 because you have both u prime and u prime. So multiplication of two turbulent fluctuations, you cannot cancel them. Okay, so this will, the average will not be 0. This will be 0. This will be 0. This will not be 0. Again, this will be 0. This will be 0. This cannot be 0. Okay, so this I have mentioned here, which are the terms will be 0. Then the final form of the equation you can get is this. Okay, this is the averaged form of the equation, or it's not the whole equation yet. It is just the du by dt, average of that. Okay, so the LHS part of the equation. Okay, so you can see that these terms cannot be 0. Whatever terms are left out, these cannot be 0. So in the next equation is actually simplification of the previous one. So average of average, you can get actually the same thing. So this is simplification of the previous one. Now this is the LHS part. Let's see what are the terms we are oh, okay, so it can be further simplified if you open them using the chain rule. So for example, there are two there are multiplication, right? U bar and V bar, and there are there are U bar and U bar and U bar, W bars. These things you can open up using the chain rules. Okay, not the fluctuating component multiplication, because the mean components you can open them up. All right, so so you can simplify this and rearrange the equation. You can get, there will be a continuity equation, mass conservation equation, and this is again in the on the mean quantity. Okay, so this will be 0. Okay, so the remaining part is this. Okay, so from this you're basically getting this much, because as I said, the continuity equation will be 0. So the final form of total derivative, if you take the average of that, you will get the mean parts, okay, and some of the fluctuating parts. All right. So this fluctuation on the u direction, you have u component multiplied with u, v, and w components. Same thing you can in the same way you can follow for the v direction when you write this total derivative for the v direction and total derivative for the w direction. Okay, the same procedure what we have just discussed, the same thing you can follow. So in this total derivative, you can see that there is this 4 terms which you can also write the total derivative for the mean quantity alone, because here this total derivative is for the instantaneous value, right? But this is for the mean quantity alone. So further simplification can be done, and the equation looks like du by dt, mean of that, where u is your instantaneous quantity which contains both the mean and the fluctuation, will be reduced to your d u bar t plus these fluctuating parts. Okay. There are few, I mean, these are generally called the turbulence fluxes. Okay, later on I will discuss about that. And this is your mean quantity. All right. So I think up to here you can follow. There are step by step, the derivation is there. I don't have to go through much, I mean, in more details. So you can follow, all the steps are there. Then after that, we see the whole equation, since we just right now worked on the LHS part alone. So if you see the whole equation, it has we start from the whole equation again. Okay, so you need to change the velocity components to its mean and the fluctuation. Similarly, you need to change the pressure into mean and fluctuation, and in the Coriolis term also you will have this mean velocity and the fluctuating velocity respectively. Okay, so then you take the average of that and further simplify it. You can see that there are few terms on the RHS also will vanish, which contains only the fluctuation. Okay, so LHS we have already simplified. We know how much it will be. Okay, from the previous slide. Only just see the RHS part. You can see that this particular derivative term, it will be 0, and this particular fluctuation term, this will be 0. Other mean quantities you can retain it. Okay. So that is what mentioned here. This will be 0, and at the end you will get this much. Okay. So if you combine both the LHS derivation and the RHS part, so the equation will look like this. So if you open up the LHS, this is what you will get, and RHS after simplification, this is the left out term. So if you rewrite this, you will get this. This is your final form of the equation. So you can see here there are excuse me. So let me go to the next slide. Here I have actually mentioned for the all the momentum as well as energy and the continuity equation. This is the final form what you will get in the boundary layer. Okay. So you get terms like the mean pressure gradient. You get terms for the Coriolis force, which is defined on the mean quantities, and these are the turbulent fluxes. Okay, so when you have this covariance term, otherwise these are also called covariance term, when you are multiplying two fluctuating parts and taking average of that. So generally they are called the covariance term. Okay. And if it is done on the same quantities like u and u, then that will be auto covariance, and if it is done on the two different quantities, then that will be cross covariance. Okay, so these are the covariance terms. In general, you can in general you can say, and there is the last term is your frictional term. Okay, so this is again on the mean. So you can see that when you are just interested for the mean quantities, you cannot even, I mean, simply cannot neglect the fluctuation part. It is there also in your equation. Okay, so it is not that if someone is interested for the mean quantity and say that I will not be looking into the turbulence part, that is not possible. You are basically there will be a lot of or significant error in your equation because these quantities are not small. Okay, when we are taking product of this, I mean, so covariance terms are not small in the atmospheric boundary layer. Of course, if you go high above in the boundary layer, its effect starts to reduce. But very near to the surface, these effects cannot be neglected. Okay, so this contributes towards your dissipation, turbulent dissipation. So this you cannot neglect it. All right, so you need to take it into account when you are even considering for the mean quantities. You cannot even neglect it.
Sir, like forward, what's this second term? Like in the first equation,
This one.
yes.
This is the Coriolis force term. F is your Coriolis parameter, and this is your mean velocity.
Okay.
Okay. So yes. So this is what I mentioned. This magnitude. So these are called covariance term or turbulent fluxes, or sometimes called turbulent divergence term. Okay, this cannot be neglected. And what they do, these terms actually represent effect of the turbulent transport on the momentum as well as in the heat. Okay, so they actually changes the transport phenomena itself. Okay, it is not when you see about the mean quantities, the final result what you will get, and when you include this turbulent parameter, that will be different. So they affect the turbulent transport and of momentum and heat. Okay. They cannot be neglected in the boundary layer because you can, from the experimental or measured parameters, you can see that they are of same magnitude as other quantities. So these turbulent fluxes cannot be neglected. That is what I want to say here. So again, the third point already I have said is if you are interested just for the mean quantities, you still cannot remove the turbulence from it because it is there in the equation and they are significant. So if in the mean prediction also you need to use turbulent values into account. Okay. So now this whatever equation we saw, these are only for the boundary layer. Okay, simplified equation for the boundary layer. If you go high above when the boundary layer ends and you go to the free atmosphere, the effects of this fluctuating turbulence fluctuation or turbulent fluxes, that will be reduced. Okay, you can further simplify the equation. So generally you can actually remove the XY variation. The G variation you can still retain it because you are vertically moving high above. So the vertical fluctuation still be, I mean, of higher order in magnitude compared to XY fluctuation. Okay, so the derivative terms in X and Y, you can remove that. Okay, just can retain the Z derivative terms. So the final form of the equation in the free atmosphere will look like this. Okay, so here we can neglect few terms because they are not so important in high above in the free atmosphere. Okay, now you can see that we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equations, right? But how many variables? We have a lot many more variables. Both you have mean quantities, U, B, W, P, and theta, as well as you have these turbulent fluxes. So there is less number of equation and higher number of variables. So you cannot solve them directly. Okay. So instead, what we do, we do some form of closure, turbulent closure. I think if some of you have taken the courses on the turbulence, so they might have discussed in detail about this. Okay, may not be atmospheric boundary layer, maybe in other form of this equation. Okay, so there are different closures we do to and provide the solution for the velocity, temperature, which suitably mimic this equation. Okay, So you need to actually, what you need to do is you need to define a particular velocity profile that takes into account to all these parameters suitably. Okay, so that is in a very simplistic manner. I can say that when you do the turbulence closure, basically you write out an empirical relation between these are your flux term. Okay, and write out the relation of this empirical relation, write out this flux term, relate them empirically with these mean quantities. Okay, any of these mean quantities. So either it can be with your viscosity, okay, or with your length scale or velocity scales. Okay, so there are different closures. So we will not see the details of that, which is not even relevant for this particular course. So at the end, like the concluding remark here you can get is in the mean equation also we get the fluctuating components, and since we have less number of equation and more number of variables, we need to use some form of the empirical solution for the velocity temperature, so that it takes into account all these stress terms. Okay, so these are also, if you remember, these are also called turbulence stress terms, and this is your pressures, which is already your stress term. Okay, so there are different closures. If you want to read more about it, you can refer to few other articles on the turbulence, but we will not be covering that. Rather, we will just go to the solutions. Okay, so I think I will start the solution in the next class. Okay, any question?
Sir, is the averaging temporal or spatial averaging in general what you are considering?
General, here you can say the turbulence is homogeneous. Okay, so that is why I gave the concept of homogeneous turbulent. You can either do on the temporal or you can do on the spatial. Then assume that the turbulence is homogeneous.
Oh, okay, sir.
Any more question? Okay, if no question, let me take the attendance.